robots are still made by humans, and things are still made with robots with humans, like this is just another tool in our arsenal of tools. We still have drills and hammers and impact drivers and saws, and we have a robot. Like it's just another tool that we can pull out and use.
For today's episode, I spoke with Fernando Bales, the Build Lab Manager for Citizen Robotics in Detroit, Michigan. Citizen Robotics is a nonprofit working to reduce the cost, both in labor hours and in dollars, of building new homes through the use of robotics. Beyond that, they're also focused on education and access, something you all know we're always on board for at Supplyframe. Through their training center, they bring these exciting new technologies to people in the community, from elementary school students to city officials, so they can learn to build more effectively. Fernando has loved building from an early age. Today we talk about the value of the hand-drawn sketch, some of the challenges when bringing this tech to the construction world, and the value of transparency and innovation. Just so you know, we were on site for this conversation, so you can probably hear the 3D printer doing its awesome work behind us. We live in a time where design and technology touch every aspect of our lives. But where did it all come from? Who designed it? How was it built and brought to market? What will it look like in a year, 2 years, 100 years? From the phones and smartwatches that help us in our day-to-day to the cutting-edge spaceships and 3D printers that are leading us into the future, modern design is constantly shaping the way we work, communicate, problem solve, and play. And every new design, big or small, starts with an idea and a bill of materials. I'm Magenta Strongheart, and this is The Bomb, where we talk to leading innovators in the tech world and celebrate the transformational power of design. Hi, Fernando. Thank you so much for having us here today. I'm excited to welcome you to The Bomb and get to know all about Citizen Robotics.
Awesome. Happy to be here.
And before we get into it, I did mention I'm going to give the audience a few notes for this episode. This is one of a few. I'll wait for the background noise maybe. We'll be in and out waiting for the background noise. We have an air compressor going. We're excited to be on site here at Citizen Robotics. There is a live cement robot printer, 3D printer behind us. So we're going to have a little bit of background noise. We're going to do the best we can today. And I'm also on the road right now, as I'm sure people who are familiar with the show can realize. I also forgot a mic stand, so I'm holding it. So we have a lot going on.
We're making it work.
But we're going to make it work. Exactly. Make it work moment. And I'm really excited to be here. I got to meet you guys yesterday at the Automate conference here in Detroit, and excited to learn more just about all you do for kind of pushing this technology forward, but really for helping community get access to education around kind of new construction methods. So let's get into it. I think it'd be great to just start a little bit with the elevator pitch for Citizen Robotics. Give our folks a little bit of context here.
Yeah, Citizen Robotics is a 501c3 nonprofit. We are focused on adoption of tech and automation in the construction world. We also focus on education. We like to do workshops throughout the year to bring in young folks. Kids as young as 10 have been through our facility just to expose them to robotics and automation and 3D printing in the built environment.
Do you guys also work much with like contractors and construction workers who are in the field these days? Or is it only kind of people you're introducing into this industry?
No. So we are halfway done with the first 3D printed house here in Michigan. So we've definitely been working with tradespeople, electricians, plumbers, framers, foundation folks. And early on, we approached various different subcontractors, brought them through and welcomed them to, work with us, partner with us on understanding what are the benefits to this tech and how can it improve their aspect of the job. So there was a ton of conversations early on with different trades folks. Yeah.
Awesome. And so I believe you said you've been with the company about 3 years now, or the organization about 3 years now.
Yeah, so I've been here at Citizen Robotics. I'm the Build Lab Manager. I run the sort of lab, the printing. Lucas back there is our pump operator and lab assistant. And I joined Citizen Robotics, about 2.5 years ago now. I was running my own design build practice here in the Detroit metro area. And I quickly saw that I saw the ceiling of where I was headed, in terms of just continuing to do things to meet the status quo. And I really got excited when our founders, Tom and Evelyn Woodman, approached me looking for a builder to help them understand how to build with this new tech. So my background is in architecture. I have a couple of architecture degrees. And then I'm a licensed general contractor here in the state.
Awesome. And what got you into architecture? I'd love to hear, like, as early back as you want to go.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Why were you inspired to go into this field?
Yeah.
Has that always been something you were passionate about? Where did that kind of come from?
Yeah, I think from an early age, I loved building stuff. I was outside a lot, building tree forts and, finding materials, from the garage and just putting stuff together, so the pretty typical story of I like to make stuff as a kid. And then I actually had a high school soccer coach who was an architect. And I got to tour one of his projects, I think when I was like a junior or something. And I was just like amazed at like all the different facets of building structures and the drawings. He showed me all the drawings and I was like, this is cool. Like, I want to do that. So I went to school for architecture. Yeah.
And I'm curious because we also talk a lot on this show kind of about the different tools or software programs, that you use for these different industries, these different fabrication jobs, etc.
Yep.
What was kind of your split? Because I feel like with architecture, they still keep it kind of pretty traditional sometimes. They do love to still have the hand sketched, plans and drawings and things. Yeah. What CAD program were you working with, if any? And then what kind of hand tools and things I don't know what I'm trying to say, methods were you using as well?
I gotcha. Yeah. So, I was trained, I went to school, I graduated, from my undergrad in 2010. And back then, AutoCAD was a thing. It still is a thing.
Yeah.
Revit was somewhat new to us at the time. BIM software was still sort of being developed and up and coming. But I was adamant about using the hand sketch. I always have a sketchbook. I still do to today. I'm sketching ideas by hand. Sort of the initial, design iteration process is in my opinion still valid to do by hand. You're very constrained, obviously, in AutoCAD if you start there. But nowadays, man, how the world has changed in terms of all the AI software that's out there to, generate imagery and generate floor plans. That's something we're interested in now here at Citizen Robotics in terms of how can we speed up that design process from the get-go. Not that it's going to give you a solution, right? But it's going to iterate very quickly for you right off the bats. But,
absolutely. Kind of give you that starting path maybe that you can then edit or refine depending on your needs or application. So it's just
a different sort of process, but
maybe another drafting tool, new drafting tool.
Yeah, very well said. And so today we're very Rhinoceros heavy. Rhino 3D is the software we use here in-house. And we use Rhino robots to sort of simulate with the robot that we have. And then we go into Robot Studio, which is the ABB sort of controller software.
Okay.
But Rhino, obviously, as many people know, the plugin Grasshopper. Grasshopper is a tool we use a lot, and that a lot of the folks that we've partnered with or collaborated with is at the forefront of the conversation. Scripting and generating scripts that help us just expedite the process in design and developing textures and patterns and things that we can print. That's all done in Grasshopper. Yeah.
Okay, awesome. No, that's really helpful, I think, also for our community to kind of visualize what the process might be like for developing some of these designs and all of that. So I feel like we could nerd out about those things all day. I was really interested in like following up, what you said about sketching and then also kind of brainstorming using AI tools to kind of get some of those, generate some of these early ideas and initial concepts. But I'm going to table that for a moment and get into kind of the programming model for Citizen Robotics, because I think that's when I first talked to you about what you all do, you were very clear, I think, in emphasizing not necessarily refining or pushing the technology forward, but pushing access to the technology, education around the technology, and the industry, kind of the application of it within construction, really pushing that forward and moving the needle there. So I would love to hear how you all do that. What are the different initiatives you have going to accomplish that?
Yeah. So fortunately, we're in Detroit, and Detroit has a really phenomenal sort of design community. September is the month of design here in Detroit, so the whole city sort of.
I got to come back. No.
Yeah, you got to come back for sure. Lots of events. We've been part of it for the last 2 years, opening our doors, doing big open house, and doing some workshops attached with that. But I think the best way to put it is that like our doors are always open. We are not holding on to any type of IP. We're not trying to keep the robot behind lock and key. We're very transparent about everything that we're trying to do. And that's really our mode of operation, that like we really just want to share everything we're doing with everybody, all the way from, at the city level, right? We've had many municipal sort of folks come through to understand what we're trying to do with this first house, and down to elementary school kids, that we've run workshops with kids, having them use 3D scanning apps to sort of help them understand like what the potential is of just having a phone in your pocket, So that's, I guess, sort of the spectrum of folks that we've worked with or talked to or had through the doors. But then also building this first house has been both a learning experience for us because, again, I'm a general contractor. I've built before in different municipalities, but this is the first house that I'm sort of in charge of building here in the city. And so learning the process of working in Detroit, that's been a learning experience, but also just meeting up with the rest of the trades. We talk about that a lot internally. We talk about how can what we're doing here in-house sort of improve the overall picture of residential construction. And shockingly, like the 3D printing aspect is almost like not that important at the moment, where we're starting to see like there's systemic issues in the way of this tech being adopted at a larger scale. Mm-hmm. And those range from just like the lack of like a workforce that is interested in innovation, right? Like we don't necessarily have a Detroit or a Michigan housing innovation center, like that's something that we would love to see in the future, centered around like how do we continue to improve building homes, just regular homes for regular people. That sure at a university level that might exist, right? But not everybody has access to that. You have to pay tuition to get access to those tools and to those folks who are doing that work. So we're really excited to continue to just like share. Like that's our motto. Like rarely are we designing on our own. We usually are working with student designers or architects from the area, or other nonprofits, who have a need for something to be designed for them. But yeah, we're like I said, we're just an open book. Like we're sharing our numbers. We're sharing, what does this actually cost? Is this even reasonable for people to be pursuing or to purchase their own printer? What is the reality of that in today's sort of market? So
that's huge. And it's great to hear that, because a huge part of what we do at Design Lab and with Hackaday, of course, is promoting kind of open source knowledge and sharing and collaborating, in order to kind of achieve these goals. And again, push access and education around these themes. So that's awesome to hear. And I wanted to ask you to kind of remind me some of the numbers you were giving me yesterday around the statistics. You were giving me some incredible statistics around housing shortage and kind of how much construction needs to happen to meet the need, the kind of demand that's out there right now, and how, why you guys see 3D printing and, innovating in the construction space as a solution for that. Yeah. As a solution and not a replacement even for what's out there right now.
We are not trying to replace anybody. We need everybody out there building houses to keep building houses, right? And then what we understand, and from some of the research we've done, I don't quite know all the sources, so I'm not going to mention any sources quite yet, but We understand that there's about a 4 million 4 million houses that need to be built in the next 5 to 6 years to meet the demand out there. And currently, I think like we're barely scratching the surface of that number with the builders that exist today. So every builder in the country would need to build almost 10 times as many homes per year to even start to approach that number of demand. And so what we're always advocating for is just like, yeah, you guys keep building the way you're building and build faster if you can.
Yeah.
But we also need folks to adopt new tool sets to build in the same capacity, but with less people, because we're also facing a shortage of labor. Younger folks are less and less interested in entering the trades. And I think there's a number of reasons for that. Like the trades have never been that sexy to be in, or it's hard labor. It doesn't pay very well. Obviously, nowadays with the shortage we're seeing is like, contractors can charge pretty much what they want.
Yeah.
We're paying
which
premiums
is kind of crazy.
On some of the quotes we're seeing from contractors. It's like, there's just not enough folks to
go around.
And so we just need more people to adopt new tool sets, whether it's 3D construction printing, automation with robots in a different sense. We've talked to folks who are building factories to panelize wall segments and use robots to assemble those. That already exists. We're seeing all sorts
and
of
like the prefab homes, I feel like is a big part of that as well.
Totally. Tons of prefab factories going up in the country. And so all of that is great and wonderful. And we want to be a part of that, and right now we're just kind of focused on the 3D concrete printing aspect, but our future state would hopefully look like various robots, right? Different robots doing different things, innovating in different ways, right? Citizen Robotics sort of sees itself as an innovation hub where other folks could come in, possibly rent the robot from us or bring in their own tool sets to experiment with and develop real solutions for housing. Yeah.
We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll talk about some of the barriers to adopting this kind of tech for residential construction and how to clear them. Robotics are more approachable than people might think. Welcome back to The Bomb. I'm Magenta Strongheart. Today I'm talking with Fernando Bales, the Build Lab Manager for Citizen Robotics in Detroit, Michigan. And they're using 3D printing and robotics to make residential construction more affordable and less labor intensive. AI and robotics have made their way into construction throughout the US, and today we talk more about why this hasn't been widely adopted yet. Something we discussed yesterday as well was kind of like I was interested in knowing who else is working on this kind of technology or applying it to the construction and building space. And I was surprised to hear you say mostly it's universities and it's at the student level, but not so much at the commercial level as far as this particular technology, 3D printing walls for houses out of cement, right?
Yeah, at least as far as we're aware, here in the upper Midwest, we're one of the, I think, one or two companies that are doing this in earnest. Obviously around the country, in Texas, California, Florida, the Virginias, there's already some pretty large companies established. Icon 3D is obviously the big name that gets thrown around. They're out of Texas doing massive projects, which is great. We're definitely not the first ones to do this.
Yeah.
We like to say like we'd prefer to stand on the shoulders of those that have sort of already figured this out because again, it's about adoption, right?
Yeah.
We just need more people to adopt this and not to hold things behind closed doors, and to share more of the knowledge that they have. Yeah.
What do you think the barrier to entry is for more companies pursuing this or adopting it? Why isn't it more prevalent across the country? Why isn't everyone just like jumping on board? Obviously, I understand maybe the expense, might be one side of things, but for established companies who maybe have larger budgets to work with. What do you kind of see getting in the way?
I mean, I can only kind of reference my own experience. And that experience is that like, I never thought robotics was like reachable for me, that like, oh, that's something that's super high end or high tech. And that's, behind closed doors. And like even yesterday at the Automate conference, during the pitch, we heard some of the judges, expressing the need for like more user-ready, user-friendly robots to hit the market, right? So imagine having a robot in your kitchen that can dice your vegetables, you know, like that level of like user-friendly, just consumer-grade robot.
The way people can use a remote for a TV,
exactly,
be able to control it in that way.
I think we need to break that stereotype a little bit, because again, like I don't have a background in robotics, and within a week's time, I was able to kind of learn how to operate a robot at a very basic level. But I think we just need to, again, share that experience with more folks, right? And get them through the doors to see that, like, yeah, robots are like super approachable.
Yeah.
And they've been around for decades,
yeah.
you know, and like there's tons of really experienced people in the world of robotics that can share their knowledge, right?
Absolutely.
It's just, I think in the construction world, in the residential building world, I think it's a generational thing too. You know, there's a lot of older folks that are getting ready to retire out, and it's the next wave of folks following them that might start to think about robotics in earnest and how it can benefit the construction world. Yeah,
definitely. It reminds me of kind of thinking about how robotics is more approachable than people think. And I think it's also an amazing kind of gateway or pathway into maybe more technical concepts, more technical education that you might be able to apply to other areas of engineering if that interests you, or maybe you want to just leave it at robotics and building and whatever you start with and what gets you in the door. But I think the same, you know, in thinking about this kind of, you know, generation of talent that we're losing and retiring in a lot of these, like you said, trades. Another one of those that comes up a lot in our conversations is CNC operators, which is another great kind of entry, you know, job or entry role that is very trainable. Like you said, you could pick it up probably in a week or two of training, but it seems super unapproachable or inaccessible if you've never worked with a machine or in a machine shop or anything like that with these types of tools. But then once you understand how to operate it, how to program it, that might be a gateway to the CAD CAM software, to design, to engineering, whatever it may be after that. So I think it's huge, like you said, getting more people educated around this, or even just in the door, not afraid to approach it, not afraid to understand it more clearly is major progress.
Right, for sure. And I think, you know, like the younger folks, you know, kids in elementary through high school, they already have, you know, 3D printers in classrooms. Hopefully, you know, they have access to wood shops and maybe a milling machine. I'm
CNCs. Jealous if they have access to wood shops. Right. I didn't get access to that till college.
Oh man, yeah, like I think that needs to happen sooner. Even, you know, like let's get more folks into those spaces so that we start to break that sort of stigma of like, you know, a trade school is a great path forward for a young person. You know, like you will have work when you're done with school. Like there's no shortage of jobs, well-paying jobs
with benefits.
With benefits, you know, like with security that like, and like you said, I think it is a gateway. Absolutely, you know, like this, you know, when we bring folks through here, you see the robot operating, but you also see Lucas and I doing some labor, you know, some manual labor. Like it's not fully automated, and I don't know that it ever will be. You know, like we've certainly seen some very high end research facilities that are working towards full automation. That's a long ways out, you know, and we still need a workforce, people who are capable of working with materials, understanding materials, how to drill a hole through a concrete wall, right? How to lay rebar, how to move heavy objects, you know, like that's still all part of the conversation here.
And a huge part of what I think, you know, companies that are working around, who are developing this technology, manufacturing, designing the robots, and then all the kind of software that supports it and infrastructure around it in factory spaces and manufacturing facilities and everything beyond and in between, are really thinking about this idea of kind of cobots and the relationship between like collaborative relationship between humans and robots, because they also see there's going to be a gap. I feel like it's almost, I relate it kind of to, there's not going to just be all electric cars on the road in a day, you know, like it's not going to just be a light switch where we go from no more, you know, gas cars, you know, to all electrical vehicles. There's going to be, you know, a hybrid, you know, time. There's going to be probably a pretty expansive time where there's this negotiation between both kinds of technologies. Right. And it's going to be the same with humans interacting with these robots in the field. And so there's a lot of work being done, I know, on, the infrastructure side, the support kind of software side, to make sure it's still safe and it's still effective and it is making things more efficient, but it's also supporting the humans involved and all of that as well.
And I think that's super exciting, like this hybrid world that we're going to be living in, where hopefully, robots become more part of our society and our daily life. But like, robots are still made by humans, and things are still made with robots with humans, like it's never just going to be a world of pure robots, at least not in our lifetime, I don't think. But, and I think that's great. I think that's great. It's just, from day one, I've told people, like, this is just another tool in our arsenal of tools. We still have drills and hammers and impact drivers and saws, and we have a robot. Like, it's just another tool that we can pull out and use.
It relates nicely. I'm like, full circle moment from the beginning of our conversation where it's like, we don't use, I just learned that you don't use this, and I know I don't take a tablet into the wood shop to sketch down a few measurements or notes. Like, I still take my notebook, even though there's way higher end technology, that's available to me at my fingertips. And I think it's the same, that just because the robot or these machines can do these things, there's still going to be times when we need, kind of the basics or whatever we bring to the table as humans, of course, to complement that. So I think that helps with maybe some of the fear that people have around these concepts as well.
Exactly.
We're going to wrap it up with a few questions that we always ask our guests. And the first one being, what's something outside of technology that's inspiring you right now?
Yeah, right now I'm like super into cycling, getting back into it, doing long distance endurance riding, just to, help clear my head, stay fit. But I wanted to kind of bring it back to, like, I think the construction industry has such a stigma that, it's a super unhealthy kind of world to be a part of. Long hours, you're straining your body. And I think, like, it's weird, in this world of robotics, like, it's a very different sort of culture, and I hope that keeps sort of filtering into the industry, that, like, the whole world of, like, construction is so unhealthy in a lot of regards, just from a labor point of view. And when I left that world, I quickly saw that, like, that's not a good lifestyle. That's not the lifestyle I want to live either, And so this job, this field that I'm in has really given me more time, that's such a luxury that a lot of folks don't have. But I think it somehow it has to do with the tech too, that, like, there's less heavy lifting and less long hours, and, like, we can really be exact about our print times and how long the day is going to be, so, like, that just starts to filter into your life a little bit, so, like, I think it's just like a win-win-win all around.
That's awesome. I love that you're kind of sharing the benefits on the human side, because as we kind of discussed, there can be a lot of fear around implementing automation or new technology when people are used to doing, something the same way they've always done it. And I understand, it's very natural to have kind of this fear of the unknown, but to hear, that it's given you time back, it's given you kind of more balance, it's allowed you to take care of yourself better. That's huge. And hopefully that'll resonate, with a lot of folks who are listening.
Yeah, hopefully.
Awesome. And then last but not least, we're going to ask you, what is on your personal bill of materials? Because our show is called The Bomb, which is a bill of materials in production and product design and sourcing. And so you can interpret this however you like.
Okay. So, I guess as I understand it, like, what are some tools maybe or materials that we're
however you want to take it.
Sure. I mean, like, oh man, this could go any which way. That I think, like, more robots, more alternative materials in this space, 3D concrete printing materials.
Yeah, we didn't even get into a little bit about the material that you guys are printing with. I found it interesting yesterday. You were telling us that there's no, what's it called? Aggregate.
Right,
in
large
the
aggregate
material. It's can you tell us a little bit more? Sorry, we'll rewind a little bit and just dive into that for a second, and then we'll wrap it up.
So this is a cementitious mortar. Technically, it's not concrete. Concrete requires a minimum sized aggregate of 3 millimeters, I believe. Don't quote me on that. And right now, the pump that we have is just not capable of pumping that size aggregate. And most pumps aren't. They are developing new pumps out there now to do that. But so it's a mortar, sort of like the mortar between bricks on a house or block. And so it's high Portland cement based, not super environmentally friendly, right? High carbon. And we don't love that. Obviously, we don't want to be using materials that are bad for the environment. Unfortunately, right now, these are the only sort of commercially available materials that have gone through the required testing to be able to build with them. We are seeing tons of research and development happening around alternative materials to build with.
Yeah.
Hempcretes, a movement back to Adobe, printing with mud and straw, geopolymers, and other synthetic materials mixed with plastics and glass and all sorts of stuff is happening. Yeah. Similar to like when desktop 3D printers came out, 30 years ago or whatever. First, the printers came out and you could only print with one material, right? A plastic filament. Nowadays,
there's so many.
You can print with chocolate, like I've seen it. So it's cool that like, hopefully we're following the same trajectory. We just need it to happen fast, as faster so we can, start using these materials that are better.
Yeah. I feel like I need to connect you guys to the Super Adobe folks. We worked with this organization called Cal Earth in California. I'm not sure if you're familiar, but they use a method that a lot of different nonprofits are using to help build sustainable kind of emergency housing for areas that are dealing with disaster relief, crisis relief.
Very important.
And they also, they've been around, I don't remember exactly, but over 30 years at this point. And they also now, do more commercial projects and stuff. So they have kind of two sides to their organization. But it's all, you take the dirt and what's in the land from wherever you're doing your build. And then you fill these sandbags and build these dome structures that they've open sourced all the plans for these, for the construction designs. And they're really amazing, of course, at like natural heating and cooling and all these different things. Super earthquake proof, all this stuff. So I'm like, I almost feel like there's a world where you could meld the two technologies, what they're working on, what you all are working on. And also in thinking about that material alternative could be really interesting. So maybe one day.
If you put us in touch, and that's what we're all about too, is like finding these other enterprises or folks that are experimenting and doing cool stuff like that, and just like sharing knowledge and being like, hey, like, how can we collaborate or just partner, or here's what we know, and whatnot. So,
awesome. Cool. Well, thank you so much for your time today, Fernando, and for welcoming me to your space. I'm really excited to get a little up close to the robot in just a bit. I'm definitely going to take some videos and share,
please do. It's moving across very slowly, so it's very safe to be around.
Awesome. Thanks so much. And I'm sure we'll be checking in and following up with you in the future.
Thank you.
That was my discussion with Fernando Bales of Citizen Robotics in Detroit, Michigan. If you're interested in learning more about the work Fernando and his team are doing, visit citizenrobotics.org. Thanks for listening, and until next time, let's keep building. If you like The Bomb, don't forget to subscribe, rate, and share the show wherever you get your podcasts. You can follow Supplyframe and Hackaday on Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, YouTube, and Design Lab at Supplyframe Design Lab on Instagram and Twitter. The Bomb is a Supplyframe podcast produced by me, Magenta Strongheart, and Ryan Tillotson. Written by Maggie Bowles and edited by Daniel Ferreira. Theme music is by Anna Hogbin, show art by Thomas Schneider, special thanks to Giovanni Salinas, Bruce Dominguez, Thomas Woodward, Jin Kumar, Jordan Clark, the entire Supplyframe team, and you, our wonderful listeners. I'm your host, Magenta Strongheart. See you next week.